Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and I am very pleased to introduce Pablo Riesgo. Oh, no, I didn't drill it well enough. Wait, Riesgo.
Yep.
Great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for being here in person. This is fun. So, I know you. I know you because your film, Marco Polo, was at both festivals last year, which is a rarity. Marco Polo was at Film Invasion Los Angeles in 2024. And I'll just admit it, it was an online exclusive because it was a film from Spain with subtitles, and we didn't know that you would live in Los Angeles and shit. So admittedly, but the film was so impressive that we selected it and made it an online exclusive, and you were generous enough to say yes to that because we always ask people for permission. And then, and you took home the Grand Jury Award for Best Feature Film Drama. You took home the Grand Jury Award for Best Screenplay Feature Film. So that was cool.
That was awesome.
And then I believe I met you at a mixer, found out you were local, and you had submitted Marco Polo to the Sherman Oaks Film Festival, and it did not take our jury, and the jury loved it again. So then you got to be an official selection at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival last December. And we threw that beautiful film into that theater with the 65-foot screen, and it looked gorgeous. And you took home a bunch more awards. I'm just going to name the awards. So the Grand Jury Award for Best Supporting Performer for Jorge Zuluaga.
Yeah, Zuluaga.
Oh, right.
The
Barcelona, the northern Spain.
Yeah. It's all Spain except Andalusia. That's all Spain except Andalusia. It's they cesean, but everything is with a the sound for C's and Z's.
For C's and Z's. Okay, excellent. Also, Marco Polo took home the Grand Jury Award for Best Performance by a Cast. And by the way, I love that award because I don't know if... Well, no, I wouldn't have said this at your Q&A at the theater because we announced the awards the week after. But, I just love the idea that the cast really is its own entity, right?
Yeah.
Like, the film is populated by these human beings, and I just love that your film won the award for the entire cast, because honestly, all the performances are great, and Jorge's performance is wonderful, but he couldn't have been that wonderful without
everybody surrounding him
to play against. Yeah. Especially because he's more of a musician than an actor, too.
He is mostly a musician with his band La Fama in Spain. And Marco Polo was his first acting role on a feature film. So I'm going to break a rule. I have a rule where I don't comment on... Well, actually, my rule might be sexist. My rule is I refuse to ever comment on a woman's appearance. I'm still willing to say that it could be that he's so fucking handsome. Yeah, he is.
That many of our jury members, his charisma and charm just explode off the screen.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and it's taken off for him as well as a musician, and I think it's his aura as well.
So cool. And you also... The film won the Grand Jury Award for Best Cinematography for Marco Alonso.
Yeah.
So...
Well deserved, I think.
So the film looks beautiful.
Yeah.
So those are all the awards that Marco Polo pulled in. So...
Thank you.
You made a great feature film. And you want to talk about where people can see it?
Yeah, so right now it's on Amazon Prime in Spain. So we got it released with an Amazon Prime exclusive over there. And it's been there for the past 3 months. We have a distributor in worldwide. And right now they're trying to sell it here in the market as well, in Latin America. So it's just like it came out in theaters last year. As well as doing the festival circuit. Now it's trying to find a home in the U.S.
Right. In Spain, you did have a theatrical in Spain.
We did.
That must have been really exciting.
It was super exciting. It's very hard for an independent film to have a theatrical release in Spain. It's hard to get people to the theaters, especially for independent Spanish films. They don't go to see American independent films, so it's even harder to get them to see Spanish independent films. But it was great. strange and beautiful experience that was doing Q&As all throughout Spain to rooms where like 3, 4, 5 people would show up.
Right. So you supported your film in person.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it basically came out in September 1st, first premiere in Madrid. And then our theatrical release was mostly focused in the Mediterranean coast because that's where the film, where we shot the film and what the film is about. So the theaters of the Mediterranean were more receptive to taking the film on. And yeah, I basically was there for the first week, and I would travel 2 hours. It would be 4 hours round trip to each little town around the Mediterranean, doing a Q&A in each little theater that would take us. And it was hard because in September you're competing with big budget American films. So like while Marco Polo was playing, we had The Equalizer. I don't know what other movies, but like you would see hundreds of people showing up to watch The Equalizer, and then you had like a little screening for Marco Polo. 3 or 4 people would come because they liked the independent film.
Which breaks my heart a little because I just wish that people were like, hey, this film was shot in a community like ours. It's like, it reflects us and our culture, so let's support it.
But the hard thing about it is that if people don't know about it, then they're not going to go support. And
it's the marketing problem. Yeah.
That's where the P&A, like these big budget films have millions. They spend almost as much as publicity the movie cost on publicity.
Yeah.
They spend just as much as the movie cost so that people go to watch it. But for us, I think we spent $7,000, which gets you like a couple newspapers articles releasing. Young people don't read the newspaper so much now.
I know.
And you try to do something on social media, but hard to miss, easy to miss.
I've had terrible experiences trying to promote stuff on social. I mean, let's put it this way. We've never accepted a film at one of our festivals based upon the social media following of the filmmakers. Mm-hmm. But we did have a feature film that was brilliant many years ago. And the filmmakers told us, how many seats do you have? Because we have 75,000 followers on TikTok. And we were like, well, it's a 90-seater, so let's hope, if it sells out, we can't add a second screening. Sorry. 2 people came.
Really?
Yeah. They promoted it all the time to 75,000 people. And social media did not relate to actual support.
Yeah. So it's very hard. And our lead, Omar Banana, he's pretty big in Spain as an actor. And not even having his weight in the film we had a showing and it was lovely. And I love the people that came. It's like I really appreciate those people that are coming to support independent Spanish films. But it is hard to get people. It's already hard getting people to theaters for big budget stuff. So for small budgets, it is.
I mean, nowadays a Tom Cruise movie can lose money. So but it was again still an amazing experience. Yeah. And knock on wood, you'll have a good release here. So at this moment, if I wanted to support the film, the best thing is to use a VPN.
Right now for Amazon Prime.
And convince Amazon Prime that I'm in Spain, and then they'll let me pay to watch it.
Right. For now, I'm actually speaking with the Indie channel, which I believe you are a part of and you run, and trying to show it there. It's something that I'm still in discussions with my distributor because they get the full say.
Distributors, don't love. The Indie channels has a socialist model, not a capitalist model. And I respect. If you distribute films, you certainly need to be a capitalist.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's their model, right? They're trying to make money out of the film.
Yeah.
But for me, at this stage in my career, the most important thing is for people to be able to watch my work and I'm not trying to make money out of my work.
Exactly. Yet, we won't ever discuss numbers, as you know, but breaking even is less important than developing goodwill in an audience so that your future work gets
getting
received.
The next film made is the,
and seen, right? Each one, yeah,
exactly.
Well, excellent. Well, the good news is they'll get you. You'll certainly have a streaming life in North America.
Yeah.
If not, I honestly have no understanding of theatrical distribution nowadays.
Me neither. Like everything changes, but at the same time, I'm not mad. Like the film is going to be out there forever. It's not something that's going to disappear, So hopefully as I make more films or people get into my work more in the future, if they want to see where it all started or like things that I made in the past, it's things that they can go back to.
Yeah, and that is one of the very cool things about streaming. I mean, now it is cool to. It's funny. I would love to be able to go back and watch like the early stuff of a lot of filmmakers.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean,
although it is occurring to me as I say that like the streaming platforms now are so focused on their new material that it's no longer like a library.
But you get things like the Criterion Channel where you go and you're like, oh, I want to see what Kurosawa, how he got started. Whatever filmmaker you like, they have a first film that you probably haven't watched.
I will openly confess that the Indie Channel was inspired very much by the Criterion Channel because it's opposite content in a way because they're the legacy stuff that's already famous.
Right.
And we're the indie stuff that we're hoping people will realize that is really worth watching compared to the less original stuff you get from a major motion picture studio that really does have to focus on, well, wait a minute. We're going to spend, I get it, they're going to spend $200 million making the film and $200 million distributing the film.
Right.
And they want to make sure that as many people as possible like it. And that's how they guarantee that I won't like it.
Right.
Because it means it's going to be everything I've already seen before that they know works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was funny.
It's becoming even worse. That problem is becoming even worse now. I feel like everything is just a remake, a repetition.
A remake, and I know they're like, oh, we won't have to pay for a new script if we just,
make this.
Underpay someone to rewrite a public domain. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that this Nosferatu remake came out 2 years after it became public domain. The original became public domain. So all of a sudden they could make another Nosferatu and not pay for the rights.
I see.
Yeah,
I did love that movie, though. I will say.
I hear it's very good. I hear it's very good.
I love Robert Eggers. And
I have not seen it because I'm too busy watching submissions to festivals.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I should get out to the theaters more.
Yeah.
But as we joke on here all the time, I do see I start 1,600 films a year.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend I finish 1,600 films a year.
No.
But I do probably finish an embarrassingly high number. Sometimes I get mad at myself for not stopping. I'm like, okay, this is not good enough to get in the festival. But I do want to know how it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there was a filmmaker behind that who was putting a lot of time and effort into that. And, it shows that you care.
I care.
On those films.
I care. But, sadly, I don't. Time is limited.
Yeah.
And I haven't developed, a speed habit where I just, take enough meth that I don't need to sleep anymore.
Yeah.
That would be the one way I could finish all the films.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure my opinions would be as valid.
Yeah.
But anyhow, okay, so that's how people can see Marco Polo. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to Marco Polo in a little bit. But as I warned you, I'm going to ask you about you because I have a lot of respect for you and your peers, everyone making films, everyone making independent films. I feel they're just heroic people to me in a way because I value art and I value culture, and I just think that the people making indie films are literally just heroically taking a huge risk in life, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things you could do with your time that would probably be a more sure reward.
Yeah.
Personally, professionally, financially, blah, 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 all that. But there's value to the storytelling. Mm-hmm. So what got you into it? What got you, what was the first spark that got you into, were you, as a young person, were you a creative kid?
Yeah, I was. My dad he works in tech, but he's a painter at heart. And so he got me into painting. I was painting from a very early age. It wasn't always a straight path to film. Like, for me, it's not the classic story of, I watched Jurassic Park and I wanted to be a filmmaker. I painted, then I started making music. And then through very bad songs that I would write, I would make the music videos for it. And then in high school, I started taking film classes. And so I kind of mixed the music and the film aspect.
And were you growing up in Spain?
No. So I left Spain when I was 12.
Gotcha.
Grew up in London for 4 years, and then I moved to San Francisco. So I finished high school in San Francisco.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And
so first 12 years, what city?
In San Francisco?
Oh, no. First 12 years of your life.
Oh, Madrid. Madrid.
Oh, Madrid.
Yeah.
I love that city.
Yeah.
I'm sure you hear it all the time, but
yeah, no, I love it too. I wish the world was smaller and I didn't have to travel 12 hours to get there. You know.
Me too. Also, I might just add, if you are visiting Europe and you don't go to Madrid, you're making a serious mistake because it's actually the best museums, and that Picasso museum kills me. I think it's the most. I'm sorry, no. The modern
El
art.
Prado. Sofia, Reina Sofia with Picasso Guernica.
Yes. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
No, it's an incredible city, and you live very well there. So my plan is, if I'm able to make a name for myself and I'm able to work in LA whenever I choose, I would live in Spain and then come here to shoot.
Not bi-coastal, bi-national.
Exactly. Yeah.
Works for me. All right. So now I know Madrid for 12 years, then London, then San Francisco. Which is excellent.
Yeah. And then in San Francisco, I started making films, but I was, art didn't seem like the path, like a life that would give me the things that I would want to have. Like very risky. Everybody told me, my dad loving to paint, but working in tech, it was like, it's just not a path that's going to get you.
Yeah, he made the decision to make the arts
his hobby,
not the personal thing, but yeah.
And so when I went to college, I did film and econ double major at UCSB at Santa Barbara.
That's my alum. I went there.
You're a gaucho?
I'm a gaucho.
Okay.
From 86 to 90.
I'm 2017. Yeah. So their film program, it is great, but it is very theory-based. So you don't really get to shoot any films.
That's a film studies program. There's almost no practical.
No practical. I shot like a couple things on a terrible camera, and mostly theory-based. And very heavy theory, like things that are not even related to story structure. It's like about film theory and what film does to audiences and philosophizing about that. Very heavy content. But basically I did econ. Economics was going to pay the bills, and then I would do film as a hobby. I would do short films. I then did a couple internships at companies like PwC, and I was like, yeah, this is not for me.
You were going to maybe become a consultant?
Yeah.
And then you said...
I was like, nope, definitely not for me. So what's the other path? Oh, talent agency is a good way, to get in one of the talent agencies and get on the mailroom, get in the mailroom, become an assistant. That's a great way to get into the industry. So I did that. I got into innovative artists. And at the time, I thought I wanted to be a producer. I had a background in econ and business. I knew film. So I was like, maybe I'll produce films and I'll find good filmmakers. But when I started in Innovative Artists, I started shooting stuff. And I fell in love with directing and creating stories. And this was 2018. And then I moved to Anonymous Content. And at Anonymous Content, they had a camera package that they would use for their commercials. But nobody used it because everybody would rent. It was an ARRI. They had an ARRI. They had a set of really good lenses. And so I started renting it out. I was like, if nobody's using it, I'm an assistant here. Can I rent it out for the weekend? and they would give it to me for free, and I would use that camera package to shoot short films, and we would get an incredible camera package for nothing. And our budget, like, we would spend $3,000 to make each short film. That was my salary.
And it looked like you had a $50,000 camera package, which those lenses.
Yeah. And with those films, I started getting into festivals. That got me into meetings with Solstice Studios, which is now gone. But, a couple studios started being interested in scripts that I wrote. Nothing really ever got made. Nothing ever really sparked, because they were like, oh, you've made, 3 short films. You're a first-time filmmaker. We can't give you the budget. And I was like, okay, so what does one have to do to get their first feature off the ground? And COVID hit. And so I was basically coordinating with the guy who's now the head of Anonymous Content International department, Jacobo Aparicio. I was coordinating with him the Latin and the Hispanic department. So we were trying to get Hispanic and Latin talent into the company, because there was not enough diversity, especially from Latin and Hispanic voices. And there was a lot of good filmmakers coming out of Latin America and in Spain, who we were like, let's bring those people in. So we were coordinating that, but at the end of each meeting, with whatever production house, whatever agent, manager we would meet, I was like, hey, look, I also write things. Do you mind? I would love to hear your feedback. And the guy who's now my manager in Spain, Juanchu from Gosua, he was like, I'd love this story. Let's try to make it. And this happened in 2020. So 2021, we were, quote unquote, get the green light to shoot Marco Polo. And, but because it was COVID, everything seemed on quicksand. But I told my boss, Meredith Rothman, who is now my manager here in LA. I told her, like, hey, I'm going to Spain. She was super supportive.
Right, because you were working remotely anyway.
Yeah. But I was like, this is going to, I'm going to have to quit. Basically.
Yeah, or at least take a leave of absence.
I was working with her for 2 years. But, when I told her that, she was so supportive. She was like, I love it. Go and shoot your movie. And if you want to, I want to continue working with you. So maybe we can, you can come on as a client. And so that happened. But then when we went to Spain and we started prepping the feature, the money fell through because it was COVID. Because I knew it was COVID and the movie seemed to be on quicksand, I applied to AFI because I was like, okay, you know what? If the movie falls through, even though they've said, we got the green light, if the movie falls through, which might happen because of the situation that was happening at the time, at least I'm going to be directing at AFI, no matter what. And the next 2 years, I will be directing. And
you applied to AFI and you got in.
I got in.
Not the easiest thing in the world. No. I think AFI is selective.
Yeah, very selective.
American
very hard.
Film Institute, and the work that comes out of there is always so great.
Yeah, very intense program, very intense 2 years. But that was my path, basically, from painting to econ and film to making a feature.
AFI
and AFI
was after Marco Polo.
AFI was after Marco Polo.
Yeah,
because what happened?
So you made Marco Polo. Well, yeah. You mentioned the money dropped out, but you didn't mention how you got it done.
Yeah. So basically, when we had the money, right, we had logged $120,000, which in Spain for an independent film is doable, through an independent financier with tax incentives. That was going to equal about $180K to make it. Basically, what happened was I got into AFI in March. We were in the middle of pre-production. That's about the time that the financier was like, hey, we're dropping out unless you push the movie to September because, there were COVID waves. So it's like, May, we expect to have a COVID wave. We don't want the film shutting down because if the film shuts down, we're losing money. Let's postpone it to September. And I was like, well, I got into AFI now. And who is telling me that imagine I say no to AFI, which starts in September, and then we get to September, I've said no to this opportunity, and then you're telling me, let's postpone again, and we get into this wheel of this movie never getting made. I've quit my job. I'm basically living on my savings now. So it was like, no, we either shoot it in May, which was when we were going to shoot it, or we don't shoot it at all. And it's like, I'm doing this with or without you. And because we had the financing, we had actually locked basically all the department heads. We had locked the cast, all the leads. And I told them, I was like, guys, basically the financiers want to postpone it. To me, I'm reading this as like they're trying to pull out at this point, and they're using COVID as an excuse. Totally understand the excuse, but at the same time, you know, I'm reading the room, and I'm like, I think this is not going to happen.
Well, you have an econ degree, and you're realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I told them this, and they were like, you know what? It's COVID. We're not working. Let's just do it, you know? And I got the support from the entire cast. I got the support from the most of the departments. We had to pay for some sound, the gaffer, the key grip, like all these roles that were not getting a big credit, you know, those we paid, but everybody else was, let's just do it. You know, we want to support the film. We love the script. So everybody worked on the film for free. So we went to, we actually got everything, and we saved the money on paying everybody. What we did was, if the movie does make the money back, everything else would be, first we will cover your salary. We still haven't made the money back, you know, but we're trying, you know, if the movie continues, once everything's recovered, everyone
has whether it's deferred or it's
deferred payment.
Yeah.
Right. So once the movie makes the money, we'll pay those payments out. But, you know, everybody was supportive enough to be a part of it.
Well, I assume that COVID might have been a slight help in that situation because people couldn't work.
Yeah.
They couldn't do normal work. So you were at least offering, they understood that you wanted to pay everyone, you just couldn't. So like, well, I could stay home during lockdown, or I could work on this film. So why not put some time into the film and actually be around other humans? It was probably a wonderful experience.
It was an incredible experience. Like probably the 24 best days of my life. And I think I speak for a lot of people who were there that could say the same. It was an incredible experience because we got this little town to ourselves. Like nobody was there. It was like a closed environment for all of us. So it was like a summer camp for...
It became a set.
Yeah.
The town really was a set because COVID had... All the locals were staying in.
Yeah.
And that's why you could do all that car work. That makes sense. Because
all the roads.
A lot of stuff on the roads, and that's normally very expensive.
Yeah. And very packed in that town in particular during that time of the year.
I got a beachside town. It never occurred to me how little traffic there is in the film.
It's actually... I don't know if it adds or takes away from Marco Polo because,
it doesn't take away.
Yeah, that town. The way that I know that town is it's always so packed. It's always full of people, full of life. And in the film, it becomes kind of like you're looking at these characters under a microscope without the people. What I loved when I was writing the movie and. What I would have loved to capture was the juxtaposition of what these characters are going through, surrounded by all these summer goers.
Right. Tourist season,
who are just there having a good time, and the characters are going through the shit in the film. And I love that juxtaposition of like people who don't really know what's going inside of you. They're just there for the summer. And because we didn't have all those people, you end up seeing these characters alone under a microscope.
But that also works. That works really well because honestly, my interpretation was it's just the off season. The family's there at this beachside town in the off season. And honestly, I never thought of this before, and I've seen the film so many times with the two festivals, is that I always kind of almost associate Marco Polo with those wonderful British films that take place in a small little sleepy village, like and it's always appealing to see that
Yeah.
So it kind of became one of those films where it's, it's off season and it's a sleepy seaside town and this family is going through what they're going through.
It's funny you say that because one of our biggest visual references for the film, for the cinematographer and I, was Martin Parr. He's a British photographer, and he usually captures both the Spanish Mediterranean coast and like the smaller towns in London. So he has a special eye to photograph that stuff, and he was one of our big inspirations to shoot the way that we shot Marco Polo.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes I get lucky.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't know that.
Yeah. But yeah.
Excellent. So it was a wonderful experience, yeah, and you and then
shooting was a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
I will say that post-production was its own animal, and then distribution and everything that came with that was very, very difficult. For one, I didn't know what I was doing at all, so that made it extra difficult. And I think creative differences with some of the people that I was working with at the time made it difficult.
It became a little challenging.
Yeah.
Different voices, different opinions.
Yeah. But you learn from those experiences the most. And it was also extra difficult because I was doing AFI while I was in post-production, and AFI is no breaks. It's like you shoot.
So your time.
Yeah. We were shooting at AFI, shoot Saturday through Monday, and then you're in class Tuesday till Friday. And so for 2 years, the first year in particular, you don't have a life. You are doing that. So I would get out of AFI and I would head to the editing bay with my editor, Ruben, and we would edit till like 9 p.m. till 1 a.m. And then repeat all day, every day.
So you were
for the first year.
burning up your youthful energy.
I burnt out. Summer 2022, which was as we were finishing editing Marco Polo, and first year after AFI, I started suffering panic attacks out of nowhere. And it was like all that tension built up in just hitting me in the summer.
And lack of sleep, right?
Yeah.
Because I hope everyone... sometimes I get too parental, but sleep is... When
so
human
important.
beings lack sleep, horrible things happen to our minds.
Yeah. I was sleeping for 4 hours, 5 hours. Now I'm very...
Not
defensive.
restful sleep either, not quality sleep.
No, it's just on anxious energy all the time. But I was like, I'm young, I can do this. My body will take it. It didn't take it. Now I'm very defensive about my sleep schedule, about working out and like my diet. I quit smoking, I quit drinking. I very try to treat my body well so I can sustain what filmmaking, like the demands of filmmaking.
The demands of something you love.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Because it's a lot of energy.
I mean, it was just the coincidental timing of it all that you shot the film right before starting an intensive 2-year program.
Yeah.
But kudos to you for not... Some people might have just said, well, I'll leave it on the hard drives for 2 years.
Yeah.
Like some might have done that. But then you lose the immediacy and all the people who were counting on you.
Yeah,
right.
It's not fair to the people that worked on the film with you for free, because you had those people are expecting to see something, to see their work, come out, and so, it was a hassle trying to get a distributor, just finalizing because we did things kind of backwards, because the financing fell through. We had to do a lot of the things through the back door. I shouldn't be telling you this.
Well, it's
podcast.
Up to you.
No, it's fine. And now it's done.
Because if you... no, I was just going to give you my warning that I try to avoid asking Karina to edit things out.
No, it's fine now.
Okay.
It's a joke. For example, some of the paperwork that we needed to get done before the film, we had to do post making the film, which happens to a lot of films. But
happens to businesses, happens everywhere.
Yeah. And it's only normal. It was because first we didn't know what we were doing without a proper producer being paid for. And second, it was just like the lack of time and lack of resources. All of a sudden, you're doing this with no money. You have to do so much more. So I was doing part of the production work as well with no real line producing experience. My budget was on a Google Drive it wasn't even movie magic. It was just like a piece of Excel.
Your own spreadsheet.
Yeah. And then we had to do like a ton of things to make sure that all the money added up, because you still have, in order to present it to the Spanish Film Institute, you have to, the film has to be shown to the IRS, to the Spanish
right.
IRS.
And that's to get the incentives back?
Yeah, exactly. So I was doing that with no knowledge of what I was doing. And my degree in econ did not help. Because
you're dealing with government forms.
Yeah.
And
I had no clue what I was doing.
But by the way, that all worked out?
It worked out.
So that means you did a good job.
Yeah, it was very stressful, but it all worked out. We got a distributor. It became a Spanish national film.
Isn't it funny how stressful? I'm jumping on this because I'm the president of a nonprofit, and you can imagine the paperwork involved in that.
Yep.
Isn't it funny how the stress we feel when we're doing a government form? For some reason, my anxiety goes up so much more when I'm just filing stuff for the nonprofit.
And it's just paperwork.
It's just paperwork. And the people on the other side, they're not out to get us, actually. Every time you call and say, hey, I think I screwed this up, they're like, oh, here's how you resubmit it. And I'm like, even the IRS is actually nice.
I would say in Spain, they're a little bit out to get you. We had actually our film audited for some reason. And everything came through correctly.
Yeah, they're just making sure you did spend the money you're saying you spent.
Yeah.
And you could prove that because you did spend it.
Yeah, it's like I actually spent more because there were things that they were not accepting. Like because we bought a lot of equipment here in the U.S. that we brought to Spain because it's cheaper here. They were like, oh, we spent this money in the U.S. I'm like, yeah, but we spent it for the movie. They're like, yeah, we're not accepting it. So we actually lost a little bit, like $30,000 in tax incentives because some of the money was
because they're
here.
trying to, they want you to overpay in Spain.
Yeah.
To support local business. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I get it too. But come on, help us a little. We're independent filmmakers. Like we're not.
And this is a Spanish film.
Yeah.
So that represents Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe some board of culture might have helped you out too. But I don't know. It's hard to tell.
It's done. It's in the past now, and it's out there, which is the important thing.
Right. But you got all that done. So that was. Did you have to deal with all that while you were at AFI?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So post and government forms for your tax incentive rebates and getting a master's degree.
Yep.
In was your MFA in producing or directing? It was directing. Right. So the directing program.
Yeah. Doing that and spending all the money that I had saved over 4 years, added to the stress, Yeah. Looking back now, I can see why I kind of broke down.
Why you had a because that was your body and mind had to tell you.
Slow down.
It was like, Pablo, you got to put yourself first now.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've learned how to put yourself first, which is awesome. Especially with the health stuff. I admit I too have it's very weird when you start eating right.
Yeah.
And then you go to Taco Bell and you're like,
I can't have
How did I used to like this? I used to really like it.
I can't have it now.
It rained in Los Angeles last week. And for some reason I said to my wife, you want to just get Burger King?
Yeah.
So we went through the Burger King drive-thru on a rainy day because it felt like a rainy day thing to do. And I'm like, my apologies to those who love it. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm eating meat.
Yeah.
I was like, this is disgusting. And I felt horrible afterwards. I'm like, I can't do that. That's not fun anymore. Mm-hmm. It is amazing. Your body really starts to demand quality treatment.
Good stuff, yeah. Yeah. I think For me, it's less the body and more the mind right now. Like I can feel it. I guess I became a very anxious person from that experience because I used to be a very chill person. But I guess being in high gear for 2 years straight does things to you. And
seriously, the lack of sleep, I think, is huge.
Yeah,
hugely significant. And heck, you're reminding me of why. The abusive character of the film industry, right? Abusing the humans working in it. A big part of that is the long hours, right? Like they will work people 12 to 16-hour days.
I hate that. I don't understand why we can't just have longer shoots, because you'll have people employed for longer, and make the work days like a normal office work day. Shoot for 8 hours. If you go over time to 10 hours, that's fine. But just shoot for longer. I know why they do it, to save money on the above the line people.
And also as if the equipment rental costs them anything, but they own the equipment. They're renting it to their own productions.
But I think it's just going to be, it would be healthier for everybody involved. You hear people of crashing their cars while they're getting back home after a 17-hour day.
And the quality of the work would probably be better because... that matters too.
I'm supportive of that, actually. At AFI, they started cutting down the work days from 12 hours to 10 hours. And I'm a proponent of that.
It is funny. I'm sure they were 14 before they were 12. And they might, because AFI has surely been a part. There was no way for them to not adopt the Hollywood methods at first, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure the idea of working people to the bone, like, hey, they're going to get worked to the bone in this industry, so we got to prepare them for it.
Yeah.
I know. It is, knock on wood.
That changes.
That most forms of abuse, they're not gone, but they're losing a little ground. I'd like to say that abuse is becoming less common.
Yeah.
But in your case, you did it to yourself, too.
Yeah, with Marco Polo and AFI, I definitely did that to myself. And it was like, I learned the most from that, I don't think I'd be the person I'd be today without those two experiences.
So Marco Polo is completed while you're in the AFI program. Mm-hmm. And then are you currently were you at AFI because you're a graduate now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, you got your master's? Nice.
Yeah.
For some reason, I gave Pablo a fist up for getting that. We have had many AFI films at our festivals because they're very good. And I kind of love when someone sits down for that Q&A and they're like, yeah, I got my master's for that film with the butt plug in it. You know what I mean? Like really, sometimes some really bizarre work. And like, you got your master's degree for that work. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, it's very cool. I forget what I was saying. But anyway, so I was asking, so was the Spanish distribution, was that distribution while you were still in the program, or had you finished?
It was throughout. So we locked the distributor. So our distributor is Begin Again Films, which is a Spanish distributor. They are the national distributors and the international sales agent. And we locked that on my senior year, on my last year at AFI. And then as soon as I graduated, that's when the theatrical release happened.
Thankfully. So then you were able to go, right?
Yeah, literally, I graduated in August, and in September it came out. So
no breaks.
No break.
Man.
Yeah.
And Begin Again, I will say, they deliver a DCP that works.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I told you this. We didn't get the subtitles to work till that morning.
Really?
Yeah, I was shitting bricks about your screening
until
I got to the theater. Did we show it Friday or Saturday? I think it might have been Saturday. Am I right? Might have been Friday.
I think it was Friday night.
But I got to the theater manager was testing it that morning because we hadn't gotten it to work, and I was on FaceTime with him on his iPhone, and he showed me that the subtitles were working, and I was like, Oh my gosh. I don't have to walk up to Pablo at the screening and go, so, no subtitles. Sorry. They just couldn't, it was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, everything went perfectly.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful screening. Yeah. But Begin Again.
It was actually the ending, to be mentioned here as well. It was the ending of Marco Polo's festival circuit.
Right. We
last
were
screening, the closing.
It's kind of cool. It's funny. It's fun to be the premiere, and it's fun to be the one that sends it off into its next life. Yeah.
I think I preferred the closing night. I was actually more nervous, and I said this during the Q&A. I was more nervous during the closing night than I was during the premiere.
Yeah, you said you did say. I remember you saying like, "Oh, I'm feeling," and I think I put my hand on your back, like, "Man, you made a great film, and everyone here loves you. Like, this is." You should.
It was just like enjoy. It's been such a long road.
Yeah.
For that from beginning to end. I think that's
like over a year. Like over a year of your life with that festival run.
Yeah. No, not the festival run. It's just like from the first draft of the script in 2020 to closing 2024 here in LA with you guys. It was kind of emotional, So
I get it. No, I mean it's a big thing. You made a feature film.
Yeah.
That, besides being excellent, is getting out there to the world. I mean, it's surreal.
Yeah.
You can, I hope to see a lot more work from you, and I have seen more work from you. But even if tomorrow you went back to PricewaterhouseCoopers, which I know you're not gonna.
No.
You know what? When you're an old person, you can say to yourself, I did that.
Yeah.
Like you did it. You really did. You got it done.
Yeah.
But you're not done. I know you're not done with filmmaking.
No, I'm only getting started.
Yeah. In fact, it is a great first. In theory, it is your first step.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a question that I was thinking of asking a while ago, which is you did mention way back half an hour ago, whenever it was, about showing your scripts to people.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start writing scripts? Like, because you mentioned, the visual arts and painting and lots of other stuff. And I mean, what can I say? Marco Polo is extremely well written. I've seen a short of yours that's extremely well written. So my question is, when did you first start screenwriting?
When I started making short films, I first was writing shorts. They didn't make any sense, really.
Like at UCSB or in that program, or before that? When you started doing it in high school?
I wrote some shorts at UCSB, but they were bad. They were really bad, really cliche. It was just, I didn't know what I was doing then, and I did not take it seriously enough. It is a serious, very serious craft. And, I was like, one draft and done. I started properly writing scripts when I came out and started making my own shorts. And I did take like a bunch of screenwriting classes while I was at UCSB, and they were probably my favorite.
Yeah, I was going to ask it because I know, because I did with the film. I did the film studies there too. Well, I did the mass media, the radio, TV, film thing, and then took a bunch of film studies. But that the film theory work was probably very helpful on the story, understanding story structure and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, at the time I didn't really connect it, but I guess it does get ingrained in you. At the time when I was like doing the film program at UCSB, I was like, why would I ever need to know? I forget even like what the philosophies taught, like how a specific shot influences an audience. And we would look at things under a microscope and philosophize about that. And I was like, why? But that does get ingrained in you. And when you're writing, a little bit of that knowledge kind of pours onto the page, I think.
Yeah, and anything that builds your appreciation of watching cinema can also build your appreciation for making cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, this is going to sound egotistical, but not entirely. I'm a good Q&A moderator, and it might be from all those film theory classes that I took as a young person, because it did teach me to look at film at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And if anything, you know, what can I say? I'm always a little proud when, like, I think our Q&As at our festivals are more insightful because of that. Because there's attention about filmmaking, because film festivals should be about filmmaking, I think.
And it shows at both your festivals.
So it's proof that as wonderful as those film programs are, where like day one, it's all practical. In fact, AFI is quite practical, right?
It's all practical.
Yeah.
Very little film theory, only really one class. And it's kind of like the first year you look at first-time directors. You look at their films and how they got started, which is invaluable. You know, it's super interesting to see how they all start. And then the second year, it's like international film, right? So you look at films from different countries, and each week you're looking at a film from anywhere in the world. I love that class. But yeah, it's all practical. You're shooting every weekend. You'll direct one every quarter, every semester. So in the first year, it's 3 cycle films. But then when you're not directing, if you're in the director's program, each different department focuses on their own role. But whenever you're not directing, you're on set for other directors, either first ADing, you're PAing, whatever. So you're on set every weekend, just focusing on all the practical aspects of filmmaking.
Which
super
is
intense.
And I'm just assuming that you have I don't want to insult other filmmakers, but I'm just going to say that you have that practical, and then because you had the theoretical as an undergrad, like that's a really good balance.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I guess it helps. Yeah. I feel like you're always a student. You know, I think my film education, I feel like there is how do you call it? I think it's like there's a name for this, but it's like there's a curve of when you know nothing. When you get to the bell curve, you have like a little bit of knowledge. You're like, oh, I know everything. And then the more you get into a subject, the more you're like, oh shit, I know nothing. I know nothing at all. And then you become a little bit of a pro at the thing. I'm at this stage where I'm like, oh shit, I know a little. I know how to make a film, but there's so many films I haven't watched, so many things that yet to learn. I think that's what's wonderful about a career like filmmaking, is that every set, everything that you do is always going to be different. So you're always you have the eternal student syndrome. You know, you're always a
somewhat. Well, because you said that, I'm going to share with you. I always thought, especially in the creative arts, and whether it's film or music or lots of things, in general, like an artist starts off and it's mostly inspiration at this end of the bell curve. Mm-hmm. And then as they start to learn craft, you start combining craft and skill with inspiration. Uh-huh. And then there's like this wonderful period where it's sort of a balance. And then some people, the technical craft takes over.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like
they don't become as inspired.
And then you get brilliantly made, uninspiring films. You know, I might say that some of my heroes, you know, I kind of think, you know, should I name filmmakers? I mean, like the Spielbergs, like they become amazing technicians, but I don't find it inspiring anymore. Uh-huh. Like the stuff that inspired them when they're young, you know, like even.
It's a fair point.
You know what I mean? Like, but honestly, even applies to like it applies to songwriters. Mm-hmm. Right? Like
it's true. I will say though that for me, I like filmmakers. I like how their craft and their technical, and that's the way that I view films. The inspiration aspect, and I see why you do like all the independent films and you love all those. For me, I love the technical and craft aspect of it. So like, for example, the later Iñárritu films or the later Guillermo del Toro films, even though their first films are a lot more like...
From the gut.
Yeah. From the gut. Amores Perros is an incredible film. and same with Guillermo del Toro's early work. And people will disagree with me on this, I like their later work better. Personally, as a director, when I see craft, like Bardo, even though people were like, yeah, not for me, the craft in that film as a director, from a director's standpoint, is insane. Or Nosferatu, the craft in that is just like, I only dream to achieve that sort of craftsmanship.
And by the way, but people on the side of the bell curve where they have all the craft and there's still ways to stay inspired.
Totally.
Like, oh my God, my memory, but Cuarón's film.
Which one? Roma?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I felt like by going back to his childhood, he refound inspiration and made something that felt independent again in a way, which, not everyone does that once they get handed Harry Potter budgets.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
Totally.
There's
ways to stay inspired as an artist.
There are ways and yet all the skill is still there, like times 10.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows it. But anyway, not everyone just becomes a pure technician.
Yeah.
But it's certainly tempting.
Yeah. I mean, you can. And I feel like that's why the big studios begin to hire you, because you become a craftsman. And you're like, oh, we got this idea, make it good, And that's craft, But I feel like a lot of filmmakers is still, as Guillermo del Toro says, he does one for him, one for them. And he uses the craft to make the one for the audiences. And then he'll take it and do it for him.
It's such a cool balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. And all right. And are you currently just writing tons of scripts? What's now you've you had it's just coincidental that Sherman Oaks got to be your swan song for Marco Polo theatrical festival screenings.
Yeah.
So now that was just 2 months ago. Doesn't it seem like longer?
December. Yeah, I feel.
Just beginning of December. Yeah, like first weekend of December. So now we're talking. This one will come out a little later, but we're talking right before Valentine's Day. So so after that, did you get to decompress and start thinking about next moves, or?
Not really. Right now, as the job that pays the bills, I'm working on soap operas and verticals. So, how people consume films and content now is like always on their phone. There are these companies coming out of China that are making films for the phone. Like Quibi, but very
so verticals means that aspect ratio that breaks my heart.
Yep.
As a cinema fan.
Yeah, it is true, because ultimately it's just like talking heads on a phone, because you can only see so much on such a small screen.
That makes me sad in so many ways. I will always say that, we grew up as hunter-gatherers, and our peripheral vision is meant to scan the landscape for predators and food and things. And when you turn our vision vertical, you're robbing us of
everything else,
of what we're what our brains have learned to see over hundreds of thousands of years.
And cinema composition as well. Like, you can't compose an image in a vertical frame. You can only compose an image in a vertical frame whenever you have like characters on top of each other. But you can't really compose a vertical frame like you can compose a horizontal frame. But at the end of the day, right now in the industry, it's what's given the most, especially the new generation, what's given them working on a lot of that. Just as a way to kind of like, it gives me the freedom where I'm working basically a month, and then I have a month to myself where I can write. So yeah, I have been writing. I have basically 4 scripts, 1 set up in Spain, and 3 that I'm trying to set up here. It's 2 sci-fis, actually. Sci-fi, very similar in the vein of Misalignment, which was my AFI thesis. I have, how do you call them? A collection of shorts. What do you call that?
Anthology?
An anthology. An anthology of sci-fi shorts of Cuando Volvimos a la Tierra, which is another short film I made right out of AFI with a grant called Spotlight Dorado. And then I have like a road trip movie, low-budget road trip movie about two Americans that are disillusioned with the way that America's going and the death of the American dream. And they move, instead of going from Mexico to the United States, they're moving from the United States to Mexico to live a more calm and balanced lifestyle as compared to the American lifestyle. So, the low budget road trip comedy, that's kind of like, look, if I can't get the next film off the ground, that's something that I can always fall back on.
So in the back of your mind, you're like, you have one idea that you'll do your best to not do an independently financed thing.
Yeah.
But if you have to,
I will.
And honestly, a road trip film is kind of perfect for that.
Yeah. It's like you grab two characters,
especially after making Marco Polo, you're probably just starting exterior day. Like you're like, I don't think anything happens at night in this movie.
Yeah,
because
actually, it does.
Oh, it does.
Yeah,
you
not so much.
You give yourself that challenge. Yeah, but it is. That's excellent. So there you go.
Yeah,
you. By the way, I don't believe in astrology, but I'm about to ask if you're a Libra.
I am.
I'm a Libra.
Yeah.
And Libras, we always seek balance, right? That's what they tell us. By the way, I really don't believe that everyone born in the same 30 days has the same traits. And yet, we both went to UCSB, and we both love film, and we're both Libras.
When is your birthday?
October 17th.
Okay. Because, no, seriously, October 10th.
10.
Yeah.
I have a good friend who's October 10th.
Yeah.
1 week apart. Go figure. And I think based on what you said, about 29 years. Mm-hmm. But still.
Yeah.
The year we went to college was, I think in my head, I'm like, oh, you were there 29 years later. Mm-hmm. Your campus was very different from mine.
I imagine.
I got to go back.
Beautiful nonetheless.
I really want to go
love
back.
That place.
I really want to go back. There's restaurants I still miss. I hope they're still there. But yeah, you are doing the Libra balance thing of writing different budgeted things and different things, and just always making sure that you have options.
Yeah. I just want to continue making films, and I don't, like they say, I mean, if you put all your eggs in one basket and it works out for you, great. You're probably making an incredible film, because you're spending all that time. But for me, because I have seen, on my end at least, this has been my experience, I've been in a place where it's just like, you never really know. And I'm not taking a risk of like making just one. I want to make films. And if somebody tells me no, then I'm going to go a different route. And if I put all my eggs in one basket, I feel like, oh shit, my whole life depends on this one project. I can't have that. I need to make sure that I know this year or next year I'm shooting with or without a budget, So it's just got to be that way.
No, and I also applaud I golf clap for the anthology of shorts, because I'm always wondering why that doesn't happen more often, because you make 6-7 shorts, it's now you got the same length as a feature,
mm-hmm.
And I always even like, we tried to do something. I'm just sharing this because I think you'll find it. There was a local high school that had a film editing program.
Mm-hmm.
And what we wanted to do was to have one of our filmmakers be willing to just give the raw footage to the class and I think there was 25 kids, and let 25 kids just start from scratch doing their own edit and then pick like the 3 or 4 best ones to show. But I would almost love to see a feature anthology that's the same short told like 6 different ways.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? Like because Lord knows, like, each editor can tell a completely different story with the same raw footage.
That would be an incredible case study for any editing program,
wouldn't it? And I think as an audience member, it would almost be like, sometimes there's a film where it's the same events from different characters'
mm-hmm.
point of views.
Yeah.
This would be like the total meta version of that, where it's different events from a different production team's point of view.
The hard point of making that is I don't know how they would sell it. It'd be more kind of like a film school.
It'd be for film nerds.
for film nerds and film schools more than it would be for an audience.
And that's why the Indie Channel just needed a ton of subscribers, because then that's the audience. And we know those people are out there.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned with P&A and everything, the hardest thing is getting people. Getting people
to, I mean, now with the internet, they say it's just like you can do anything, but it is a job. You have to either have somebody do it full time if you really want to achieve what you want to achieve with it, which is ultimately people showing up, or you need money, which money is ultimately paying somebody to do the job that you have to do. So it's not like, oh, the internet, you can do anything. It's like, yeah, but you have to write, you have to make the films, and that already takes all the time. For you, it's like you're running a festival. That already takes all the time, so.
It takes more time every year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm grateful to the universe that the festivals are growing every year, but I enjoy the side projects, but actually my plan for this year is to have fewer side projects, because the festivals have grown too big.
Yeah.
And I want the 10th anniversary years to be, this is the 10th anniversary for Film Invasion and Sherman Oaks this year, so we're going to make them even better.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome.
That means, but the podcast must survive.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I think I love podcasts, as I told you, before. I had my own. If I had the time, I would dedicate time to it. I think probably I learned the most from hearing filmmakers just talk, and I don't know. For history buffs, there is a few channels on Spotify that I listen to, and Philosophize This is another podcast. I love podcasts.
I love history. I love hardcore history. Mm-hmm. That's a fun podcast. But I'll just say, as we wrap it up, that's in a lot of ways I see Discover Indie Film, this podcast. It's the people on the festival circuit, and if someone is going to break through and do something, and how cool would it have been to listen to a young Steven Spielberg when his short Amblin was on the festival circuit, talking about his work for an hour.
Right.
That would be amazing to have that. So I almost see this as a time capsule. And I don't know who and then someday someone will be like, oh man, Pablo Riesgo just won Best Director Oscar. Now I get to hear him 2 years out of AFI. That's rad.
Yeah.
So that's my justification for never giving up on this podcast.
I don't think you should.
and you're another person who's pretty. You're another sand or whatever. You're another on the scale to get me to tip me into adding video.
Yeah.
You added another. Whatever. I wish I knew the term, when you are measuring, when prospectors measure out the gold.
Or bad Libras, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, website, social media. Is there stuff for people to follow?
Yes. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Pablo Riesgo, just my name, Pablo Riesgo. My website is Cine de Riesgo, which is my production company. Cine, CINE, de Riesgo, RIESGO.com. And I think those are the two big things that I keep posting on about my current work and where everything's going.
And I'll sound like a real podcaster when I say those will both be clickable links in the show notes. So check out the show notes. Seriously, check out Pablo's work. And, if and when Marco Polo is, whatever, whether it's VOD or whatever, we'll make that a clickable link too. And if you are really an amazing person and you're hip to VPNs and shit, pretend you're in Spain.
Yeah.
But right, because I assume, I hope your distributor takes good care of you, and
hopefully.
I honestly have no idea how Amazon works. We had I'm about to do the closeout, but this podcast gave birth to a series on Amazon Prime we just used Amazon Prime Direct to do it, and it was growing and growing, and they wouldn't put it in other countries, and they wouldn't let it, like they had weird things. Like you would think, like if it was, we got up to like 10,000 unique viewers a week in the USA, and we couldn't get in Canada.
I think because every country is run by different departments.
Yeah, everyone has a different department, but you'd think there'd be a way. But anyway, that was just me saying, I interrupted myself because I was going to say, use your VPN, pay for it in Spain, and then they'll see it's popular and put it elsewhere. And if you do it,
thank you. And if not, hopefully we can bring it to you.
If not, you still helped out.
If not, hopefully we can bring it in the US soon.
Yeah, well, somehow, for sure. Yeah. All right, well, thank you, Pablo, and thank you, everyone, for listening. This is the Discover Indie Film Podcast. If you want to learn more about it, just go to discoverindiefilm.com. And on social media, it's always @DIFwins. And that includes Blue Sky. We just added Blue Sky because I keep telling everybody that I've given up the other social media platforms and I am only on Blue Sky. And I realized how silly it was that this podcast's social media was not on Blue Sky. So it's on Blue Sky now. And I normally say which Pablo's film Marco Polo was at both Film Invasion Los Angeles and Sherman Oaks Film Festival. Won awards at both. So I'll start with Film Invasion LA because that's the first one you played at. Mm-hmm. So we hold that one every June. You can learn more about it at filminvasionla.com, and it's at Film Invasion LA on social media. And I'm adding Blue Sky this week, so it's on Blue Sky already. And Sherman Oaks Film Festival that we hold every December is ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. And that includes Blue Sky, which is, for those who don't know, an open source, non-algorithmically corrupted social media site, I think. And Paulo was kind enough to mention the Indie Channel a few times. If you want to check that out, if you love indie film, go to indiechannel.tv. Pablo, it's such a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.